The portal has closed for this week, but will reopen next Saturday when Psychic Medium Sherry returns with a new guest and another step in the journey of mind, body, and spirit. If you would like to find out more about Sherry or book a reading, you can do it on Facebook. Just look up Psychic Medium Sherry or at tinyurl.com/SherryWeb. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you again next week.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Portals to Enlightenment, your journey of body, mind, and spirit. And I don't remember what episode we are at, but I do want to personally thank each and every guest that I have had since episode 1 for their time and their just being able to just spend not only their time but their knowledge and their heart and their soul to help those that are listening for the next half an hour, 35 minutes, and helping those that are there, whatever subject it is. I hope you walk away feeling like you are enriched in body, mind, and spirit. This week, we're going to introduce a new guest. His name is Charles Shyu. He's a male bodybuilder, and we connected on Instagram. I gotta say, his physique is phenomenal, and I am just really thrilled to have him share not only his inner reflections and wisdom, but also to share his journey as a bodybuilder. Hello. Hi, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing well, Sherry. Thank you for asking.
Are you okay after having that allergic reaction the other night?
Oh, yeah, that was a trip. It was honestly, it was not great because I really enjoyed the food as I ate it.
And I take it was ramen, right?
It was, and what it is, I'm allergic to sesame seeds, and I didn't know it was ground like into the soup, into the paste, which is pretty unavoidable because I asked for no seeds, but obviously like I didn't ask in a detailed fashion, so it's all good.
Yeah, good. Oh, knock on wood. I've never experienced that, but I hope I never do. It sounds like to me it can be life-threatening. I mean, like anybody has any type of allergic reactions. It could be from, peanuts and sesame seeds. It could be something in the food that they just doesn't agree with them, correct?
Yeah, most definitely. But for me, I think in a lot of ways, I've had more food allergies than I do now. When I was a kid, a lot of them dissolved over time.
Okay.
So I think food allergy is something I just got grown used to dealing with and asking what's in my food. And that kind of helps because during prep, I was so used to saying no to specific foods because I was allergic to them that like I didn't struggle with wanting to, because one of my friends told me on prep one of his biggest struggles, they want to eat peanut butter all the time. I'm like, don't have that problem.
I love peanut butter. I'm just rationed for maybe a tablespoon. That's about it, if I want to, or almond butter or something like that. But one good common thing that both Charles and I have is we're both bodybuilding. We're both bodybuilders, but Charles is in the classic physique. And maybe we can just kind of a little bit, we talked about it just before we went on air, but maybe Charles can define what classic physique, and then we'll just move on further.
Yeah, so classic physique is kind of this bridge between strict bodybuilding or traditional bodybuilding and the physique. So physique is the one where they have the guys in the board shorts, so it's like knee length. And then classic physique is kind of like a brief style, and then the bodybuilding is traditional posing trunks, so the smallest ones. And classic physique is basically, it's called classic because it's built on what they would call like the classic era of bodybuilding. And that kind of revolves around Arnold's era, Lee Haney, some of those guys. And as we kind of got to like Doherty and Yates becoming Mr. Olympia, the guys were getting real big, and they kind of just ascended after that. And I think with the audience of people with bodybuilding that kind of followed, and the guys just kept getting bigger. And you can even hear it in guys like Jay Cutler talked about the fact that he didn't even appreciate how big he was at the top of his reign as Mr. Olympia, that he thought he looked better when he was doing shows like Arnold and stuff like that. But people like that shock value in a lot of ways. It's really, I appreciate it. It's really cool to see how far you can push your body, and if you keep training and the way you eat and diet right, like you can keep putting on muscle over time. But for me personally, the goal is not necessarily that. I kind of like the more aesthetic view of classic, where it's, you're looking for a small tapered waist, like a really big X frame. Essentially, you still want big legs, big calves, and then proportional upper body, but it's got a weight cutoff that is proportional basically to the guys around that time, to Arnold's build essentially.
And I got to say this, and now that I've been getting my feet wet and getting the hang of bodybuilding myself, I don't think it's cut out for a lot of people. I would say honestly, this is just me, but it feels like I would say 90 to 95% of the people, it's very difficult to get into bodybuilding, because not only is just the training itself, but it seems like the prep work, the diet, the mindset. I mean, there's so many things that people don't realize what goes into bodybuilding.
Yeah, it's definitely a multi-dimensional thing. It's more of a lifestyle than you would imagine, and it's different in other sports in the sense that, like, in the way that you demonstrate it. Like, when you're on stage, I guess you could compare it to, a player like playing a game or something like that, but you have so many days of work that led up to it that you're just showcasing your work essentially at that point, which is in a way like a really cool experience, because all the work, like, you hear from coaches and athletes alike, when you step on stage, all the work is done at that point. You're just showcasing and displaying what you've done. And the posing is definitely a big part of it, especially in classic. But overall, prep is just a really interesting, it's a journey, a process to be on, because you go through a lot of different stages of it, and your body goes through different stages, and your mind goes through different stages as well, because you're essentially depleting your body of carbs, and your body at one point thinks it's essentially starving. And it plays really funny tricks on you, and your brain slows down, and we call it prep brain for a reason, because it's really kind of like feeling like a zombie. But in a lot of ways, you also learn to, like, control your emotions, and you learn to manage feelings that you realize are maybe arising from external circumstances, as opposed to just actually, like, you really feeling them. Because a lot of the times you realize you're grumpy or you're upset, honestly, just because your body's craving calories. And it's funny how your brain does that. And yeah, prep is it's a journey, it's a process, and it's a really fun one. And I think you're really going to enjoy it as well. And at the end of the day, it's something to be super, super proud of, that in a lot of ways.
I know what it's like to prep, because as a competitive runner for 23 years, I've gone periods of actually not eating any carbs, and it really just kind of, like you said, it plays tricks on your mind. And I wasn't at that point it wasn't as effective, to be honest with you, with running, because I needed that carbs for energy. But it wasn't like I'm prepping for, even at hood to coast. I mean, my team is always coming in the top positions in every year among 1,050 teams, and it's like, it's just totally different thing. It really is. And when you starve your body, it's mind over matter. It really is.
Most definitely.
Yeah, you're running a marathon every day in the gym. There are days you don't feel like going, and then you just like, you got to push it. And even though, you're just like, okay, it's like yesterday, I didn't want to do it. I just kind of like, but I took it easy, but I did it. I did some of my, I did my sets, but I just didn't push it like I normally would.
Sure.
What have you learned other than, I see in your Instagram page, you have shared so much of your inner self as far as the wisdom that you're going through and what you're learning. Is there anything that you want to share with our listeners?
Sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, I try to do that as much as possible. I've kind of realized I've gone through a lot of different stages in my life, and I struggle. Not so much as much. It's a day-to-day battle, but there's been points in times where I've gone through big bouts of depression, and being diagnosed with manic depressive. It's just one of those things where, over time, I guess I finally feel like this year I've kind of learned to manage it, and so it's big that I feel like I want to spread this wisdom onto other people. And I think it's a lot of times not spoken onto enough in the realm of fitness. I think a lot of people, when they look at people who are fit, just assume that they're mentally super sound, that their life is going great because they've got this balanced, life. But that's not necessarily the case. I think a lot of people work out in order to achieve that mental balance, working out or feeling confident about their body. Is there a way to, I guess, is there a way to, feel self-confident and also feel, like I said earlier, I think the word mentally sound comes into mind. And I think it's important for us to talk about it, I guess, because a lot of times it's not necessarily merged with, like I said, the realm of fitness. And I've just had a lot of people show overwhelming support and being like, and thanking me for sharing, which makes me want to do it more because, my biggest thing is I want to help other people. And if other people can gain something from reading, experiences that I've been through by just being open about it, which I really don't mind at the end of the day. I'm a pretty open book with my friends, or family, or just honestly anyone. I like to chat with people, and I'm a people person, and sharing my experiences and getting feedback from people that it's helping them is just something that I want to keep doing. Makes me want to keep doing it. And yeah, kind of just along the lines of that.
And it helps you too, because I mean, if you feel like you're kind of, feeling down or something, when you read some of these posts or think about other people get some inspiration from you, I imagine it helps you keeps you going. It's like you got a purpose.
Yes, definitely. In many ways, that as well. And I've had people reach out, sending me DMs and whatnot, and it's nice that my following is growing slowly as well. But people reaching out being like, man, I would have never known that you struggle with this. I struggle with this too. Do you have, a couple of minutes to chat about whatever, anxiety or depression? And it's kind of the same way that you reached out to me as well. And I've definitely met a lot of people, and I've just realized over time that the more open I am with myself and my emotions and my experiences, kind of the more, honestly, that good things gravitate towards me and good people as well.
That's awesome. And I'm going to say this too. Ever since I've, been in this bodybuilding arena, the people are really, really nice.
Oh,
I mean, yeah. It's just, we all have ego, but we want to keep our ego in check and try not to put the ego in the way when it comes to aesthetics, even though you do want to look your best and everything. But there's more of an inner drive of why you want to do that. And it just, I think that if you, for self-focus and being able just to improve. And for me, I can only speak for myself. For me, it's a focus and determination to be the best person and be the best shape I can be and keep on improving.
Most definitely. I definitely agree with you on that.
So let me ask you, Charles, and both of you, and I can say this, both you and I are Asian American. I think we're both. I'm Chinese. I think you're Chinese too. For your name. Heritage-wise, we're Chinese American.
Yeah, have you nationality Taiwanese? Yeah.
Yeah. Have you found in being Asian? Have you found that there has been any stigma as far as what you're doing and people looking at you like that, especially with the Asian community? It's like, oh yeah,
most definitely. I feel like, but I don't really. It doesn't bother me that much because I grew up being the token Asian in a very small, like not diverse community.
Okay.
That being like I was the the one Asian kid, and so I never, I guess, then at that point when I would go home, not home I guess, but go visit Taiwan, it's like I was the American kid. So I kind of grew up not necessarily feeling like an outsider, but
you're the black sheep.
Yeah, being comfortable with that, and even with my own family, like I got a bunch of tattoos. I've piercings, like a lip ring and a nose ring, and I'm definitely, even when I go home, in my family within that I am. So I think it definitely is not a recent thing. It took a lot of time to be comfortable being, whether you want to be called unique or being an outsider or just, I think it comes time with comfort and maturity and age. Because I definitely wasn't always comfortable with myself, and there's a lot of times where growing up, like I said, like you were talking about, where there's stigmas around being an Asian American that you have to combat. And I think more than anything, I appreciate it almost now because you grew up with a thicker skin and you're not so sensitive to little things. And I think that's an important skill in life that it's not a thing that we should have to necessarily deal with, but dealing with it at the end of the day does make you tougher, and I wouldn't trade it for the world because it is a invaluable skill to have thick skin in the real world, in my opinion.
That's good. And it's just not only in our Asian community, but just people looking at you and saying, why do you want to do that to your body? And,
Right.
those kind of things. Oh, my goodness. It's a quick judgment instead of saying, wow, I really appreciate you doing that. I admire you because you have the drive and the focus and discipline and the desire to do that. People tend to kind of sometimes will go and judge you and things.
Sure, most definitely.
Yeah, we don't want to focus on that, but it's just great. I mean, it's wonderful. And I know I just, I'm so proud of you. You're going to go into nationals, and that's a big step for you. And it's like, wow, you have the open door. It's like the universe is saying, okay, Charles, you're at the place where you need to be. There goes. The door is opening for you.
Yes, most definitely. And it's just been a really cool experience. Like I said, overall with the prep before this, I didn't work out for 3 months before I started prep. I was in the hospital before that with some health issues with like a nerve condition. And I lost feeling in most of the right side of my body, basically, for, and right now I still struggle with partial paralysis. Not paralysis, partial sensation loss, I guess is what I should say.
Okay.
Because I can move just fine. It's just the fact that I can't necessarily feel everything.
Okay.
And so it was interesting, like, because coming out of it, especially leaving the hospital, I kind of felt like I lost my purpose. Because I'd been working out before that. I, boxed, was always athletic, and loved, working out or running or whatever it was. And I played sports too. And I kind of was lost for a little while. And then I wanted to start working out again, but I couldn't really do that for the next 3 months. I really barely worked out. And then around that time that I started prep, I kind of just walked in zero gravity because I'd heard about it from a friend before, and I checked out their Instagram. They had a bunch of pros, and the coach seemed pretty friendly. And I gave him a call one day, and he was kind of just like, "Yeah, just come through. We work out every day at 8 and 5. We'll talk after the workout." And I showed up, and after working out with him that day, I paid my dues for the prep, and I was like, "Let's do this," because Ryan's just honestly an amazing coach in person, and Taylor is as well, and they're just super encouraging, and they're there for you, and they care for you as an athlete, and also just as a person and a friend, like a family member, honestly. And we took it 12 weeks, and I worked out. So I mean, I wouldn't recommend this to everybody, but I trained with no off days because I felt like everybody had a leg up on me. They've been training for lifting consistently at least for the last couple months or a year, normally longer. We worked out 84 days straight, and then
Wow.
Eventually, won a sword, and then worked out a little bit more another week, and then won another sword, which is super encouraging. But I think it's a combination of genetics, work ethic, and then I'm definitely blessed. I think in the sport, like, to go far, you definitely have to count your blessings and the fact that you have good muscle building genetics, or else you wouldn't be able to get to this point in the first place.
Exactly.
The next level is the next level, and that kind of goes to show if you have the combination of work ethic and genetics to be able to win a national show and get your pro card, which is the goal. And we've gotten some good feedback, me and my coach have, from the FPV and whatnot, and we know what to bring up in the off season in order to obtain that. So we're kind of just working our way, chiseling up the game plan one by one, and the process begins all over again, which is kind of exciting.
So Charles, just from a different point of view as a bodybuilder, and like I said, you're moving up the ranks, and it's just amazing. But what's your take on having an online coach? A lot of these people, and I don't know about you, but you see all these people, they offer, they just because they compete in a show, they want to go and say, I'm a fitness coach, you come on to me, and that kind of thing. What's your personal feeling?
I think it depends on how many times, because this is definitely something that's been brought up a lot, and I've shared my opinion on this before with other people, but I think it just depends. Like, it's very up in the air. Just because you're not a good athlete does not mean you're not going to be a great coach, because there are great coaches that aren't necessarily like in the best shape, but they know what they're doing with people's bodies. There are also people that have competed multiple times themselves, and they know what to do. And then there's other people who are very book smart. I think there's a lot of different ways of being smart, but at the end of the day, I think you have to, trust your gut and kind of look into it and just be like, you have to evaluate somewhat. The team that I signed with, Ryan's a pro himself, and I also looked at the people that he has on his team already, if they're doing well, if they're winning. And he not only has people winning, but winning and then going on to the pros and then competing well in the pros. And he cares about the longevity of his athletes as opposed to like a one show kind of deal or a quick rise to fame. And that's something that I appreciated off the bat. But yeah, definitely I see people like for myself, I've only done two shows. And yes, I've won them both. And a lot of people would offer to coach people with less experience in that. But honestly, I don't feel comfortable. When people approach me, I do feel comfortable like personal training people one-on-one in the gym. Because I'm certified in that as a trainer. I've worked worked my way up through the Equinox process as well, on top of being nationally accredited. And that's a one-on-one training deal as opposed to like I'm not a dietitian. I haven't done other people's preps before. I don't have experience in that, so I wouldn't feel comfortable just by using the fact that I've won two shows as leverage to do that. I think that would be kind of scamming people out of it. So when people ask me, I refer them to my coach because he's done a great job with me, or I'm like, pick one that you feel comfortable with that has coached other people through many shows. Because I've won two shows, but as an athlete, I followed the game plan. I didn't make my own game plan. So that's I think, the foundational difference.
God, it makes a big difference. Yeah. And I know people that, just because they go there and they win by default because there's nobody competing, that makes a difference too, because, when you go on a national level, you got the cream of the crop. I mean, it's right. Like top and major athletes that are actually serious in getting into shape and sticking to such a hard regimen that it's most, I would say, like I said, honestly, I think it's 98% of people won't be able to do it.
Right.
It's just too hard.
Agree. I think the kind of the standard for me would be like, are they a pro themselves or have they helped anybody turn pro? I think
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. You and I are on the same page on that. Definitely. So other than helping people with your depression, are you finding things like, every day that you work out or just throughout the whole course of your bodybuilding, your career, are you finding that you're turning not only inwards, but you're finding more wisdom about life and people and things like that?
I think most definitely. I think when you're happy with it's a strange thing because you definitely shouldn't be too focused on outward appearances, but also it's a really empowering feeling to be happy with the way that you look, or to be proud of the progress that you're making. It's kind of like something that you can be proud of, even if all else is honestly going to shit. You can be proud in that fact, and that's something that you can have. You also have to realize that money really cannot buy. It's one of those few things in the world that's hard. You can buy personal training and spend thousands of dollars on that, but you still have to go and do the work. And there's all these miracle things. But even if you get liposuction, it's not going to increase muscle mass. And the only thing you could possibly do that is, get like surgical implants, but it doesn't look necessarily like muscle tissue. So at the end of the day, it's one of those things where if you don't necessarily feel happy in other aspects of life, you can feel happy in that. And I think that's what a lot of other people get from it. It's a like I said, an empowering feeling. You feel strong, and I think it gives you also hope that you can be strong in other areas of life as well. That's a big part of it for me.
It is. Wow.
Also, just the fact that working out, in a matter of chemistry, also just releases endorphins into your brain, so it makes you feel good and induces that feel good. I think that's the reason why most of us do it. I would say it's a combination of those two things.
Absolutely. And you're a boxer also too, as we were talking about.
I grew up doing that, and then that's kind of what I like to train people in now, in terms of fitness. Sometimes, because I used to train people before, mostly in weights and whatnot, but I kind of found that if I spent 6 hours a day doing weights with other people, when it was time to do my own, I didn't feel as energized.
Right.
Whereas with boxing, I get variety, and it's kind of nice because it keeps my shoulders nice and loose and warm when I'm holding pads. I get to do motions that some bodybuilders wouldn't necessarily always do, like move athletically, which I think is a big part of why I'm able to pose the way that I am, or I also practice and try to do a lot of mobility work, so I can open up in those poses and whatnot. So I think, yeah, I have definitely a very varied approach to training, not necessarily it's strict.
I really feel that's very, very advantageous personally, because not only are you using different muscles and everything but you're actually training your body to do just different things, being more fluid on stage, learning to pose gracefully instead of walking like a newborn calf or something like that. So I think that really does help. And I teach yoga, and I've been teaching for 8.5 years. I teach beginning and intermediate yoga, and it's just the flexibility of being able to do the different asanas and being able to go with the flow, and I just feel it's just a really good adjunct. Really good. Most definitely. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. So anyway, is there, let me ask you, is there right now at your point, are you prepping for something right now? Are you bulking? Are you doing a bulk right now? Or
essentially, yes. So I mean, it's not necessarily a strict bulk. I don't have too much room in the weight allowance. I have a little bit of grace room, but nothing crazy.
Okay.
So I can, step back on and really try to put on, like 10, 15 pounds in the off season, because, I weighed in decently close to the weight limit already, which definitely means I have room to put on quality muscle, because lean muscle by appearance, is a lot of size actually.
Mm-hmm.
And muscle density is a big thing that we focus on as well. You can be the same weight, but have completely two different looks. So that's what we're focusing on now, is sculpting, rounding things out. We're working this, like, focusing on my back, in the day backswing shows. And I think it was also the fact that I didn't train for a really long time, that I didn't have that, I didn't have terrible density in my back, but we're definitely looking for more in order to win a national show.
Okay.
So that's one of our primary focuses. But yeah, for the next couple of weeks, kind of letting my body rest, not too strict of a diet, just letting it, de-stress, because in about 2 more weeks, we're going to start a 16-week prep. There's 2 national shows in July that we're looking at. One's USA's, one's, I'm not sure the name. And we're kind of decipher which one we go for, maybe about, like 8 weeks into that prep, see what we're looking like.
Good. Well, I'm doing a 20-week prep.
Yeah, that's a long one.
It's a long haul, but keeping my mind, I get no cheat meals. No Chipotle mayonnaise,
Right.
But it's great. I'm just really so happy for you. So what else can I talk about? Do you want to say anything, or?
No, I mean, I'm open to whatever, just whatever questions pop in your head.
That's great. Okay, cool. So I'm just trying to think of something here. So we just talked about you, turning inward. I got to say this, and I can share this with you, and I don't know, and our listeners, but with my journey, and you can reiterate if you want, but there are times where I just, like, if I do a PR, when I hit a PR, I just, like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting there crying.
You want to scream, It's one of those things that makes you so happy, because you're the only one that knows how much work you put into it. And obviously some people, if they lift with you and all that kind of stuff, but that's something that only you benefit from at the end of the day. It's, I think the word empowering just comes back to play over and over again, because at the end of the day, that's really what it is.
I thank the Creator for being able to give me the strength and the legs and the arms to be able to be in this journey. I never thought I would be. I never thought I was going to be in this journey. You asked me, a year ago. I don't know. I was still running and doing the same old thing. But yeah, I'm really pleased, and it's really a good thing. I think we're in a different. I think we're in a kind of like a different category. It's just like runners or boxers, or you tend to gravitate towards people in that arena, and you understand what we go through. We understand that. Some, not more so than others, just a matter of degrees. But I think there is a commonality of being able to understand what not only discipline, but also empathy for each other.
No, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, But let me ask you, is there anybody would like to start out? What do you suggest in the male bodybuilding? What do you suggest for somebody that might be?
I think one of the most important things I will say, because this is something that I had my eyes out on for over a year. The biggest thing is you got to pick a show, pick a coach. If you want to coach yourself, that's fine too. But be well versed and do a lot of research and have a game plan, like a plan basically already set. Because if you don't have a show, you don't commit to it as hard as if you have a hard date. If you have, I think this is the biggest thing is when I had 12 weeks and we had that show date picked out, I realized every day that I work out is 1 out of 84. Am I knocking it down? 2 out of 84, 3 out of 84. When you look at it, it's almost like a test. You get a 7 out of 84 or 79 out of 84. That's 5 misses. That's whatever great percentage, and the more you miss, the more detrimental it's going to be for you on stage. And so I, didn't miss any days basically and used that as my prerogative to do so. I think, yeah, the biggest thing I think would be a commitment. Once you decide on a show date, pick it and then and go for it.
And people don't realize it's very expensive.
It is, absolutely. So
oh
it's
my
a
gosh.
financial investment as well in a lot of ways.
It's huge. It's not like running. You buy your shoes and, maybe buy some, making yourself look good where you buy shorts and pants and everything. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize how much it is. It's really a big financial effort. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's pretty much. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, but it's part of the game. It's part of being up there and the experience and everything else. Well, I don't have anything else to say, but next time I'd like to have you back, Charles. We're going to kind of keep it short, but I would like to have you back and we can talk about other things. I mean, we can talk about more on prep or food or things like that. So, but I don't want to go.
Time. I appreciate you having me on here.
Yes, and I just like to give our listeners a lot of bang for their buck, and I know that we can go on and on, but I just want to give them a taste of what it's like in as a male bodybuilding and getting into the industry and your experience and a little bit of your wisdom.
Sure. Thanks for reaching out.
All right. Well, thank you, Charles. I appreciate it. And next week we'll have another guest. So in the meantime, if you want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on Facebook at Psychic Medium Sherry, or you can get me on my website at www.psychicmediumsherry.weebly.com. Again, it's www.psychicmediumsherry.weebly.com. And if you have anything with traditional Chinese medicine, medical intuitive readings, or medical qigong sessions, or you would like to have a psychic and or mediumship reading, you can go ahead and contact me, like I said, either through Facebook or on my website through the contact form. But until next week, you guys, thank you so much. And I thank our listeners. I thank you, Charles, for taking his time to share a little bit about his version of his side, male version of bodybuilding. And we wish you, Charles, all the luck in the world. And I'm going to be rooting you on from behind.
Thank you so much.
Hey, take care. And we're going to be going. Hey, thank you, guys. Take care. Love and peace.
The portals of enlightenment have opened, and your journey of mind, body, and spirit has begun. Welcome to Portals to Enlightenment. And now your host, psychic medium and traditional Chinese medicine practitioner and medical qigong radio show personality, as well as member of the Asian American Journalist and Media Association, Psychic Medium Sherry.